Hello, everyone. This is Alan Barrell, sharing with you some personal experiences about Cambridge and the ecosystem here. I've been here since 1966, which is quite a long time. So I'm happy to welcome you to this wonderful center and give you some experiences and personal reflections about the 50 years that I've been here, which have been very, very positive, and I have been very, very lucky because we've seen here develop an extraordinary community of creativity, enterprise, common purpose, and I say social inclusion. And you will have seen from other parts of this website the observations of others, and you'll have heard from people like David Cleveley about how they feel the cluster of creativity has developed here. And I don't want to duplicate that, but I do want to give you some thoughts of my own. Of course, the Cambridge brand is well known. There's King's College and the river. And we've all enjoyed the academic experience that we've had here. And there's been 800 years of it and more before any of us came here. But also we know Cambridge through this word phenomenon, something very special, which attracts global interest because we've seen 60 years of innovation and the creation of an international center for the world leaders of tomorrow. So if you're thinking of taking your business anywhere to grow it internationally, do look at Cambridge very, very closely, please. My dear friend Martin Hinnall wrote a paper, he's in Leuven, another great university center, telling us about the 50 or so wonderful innovation districts that have been identified around the world where new economies have developed, largely from the development of science and technology into businesses. And Cambridge is one of them, a very special place for growing international businesses. And when we look at these centers, and we're not going to go further into the detail again, but I've just listed here again what others have said from other centers about the characteristics that we find in places that become exceptional at enabling new businesses to develop and grow internationally. And you can read the list of all the things, including knowledge and investments, quality of life, and I've added there Minds Without Borders. I've found a lot of change in the way people think in the 50 years that I've been here. And we've also benefited here from not being too big. We are close enough to each other that we can communicate very effectively. And of course, in Cambridge and these other centers, we find these wonderful platforms of technology. There are three mentioned there with the subsets bio, info, and nanotechnology. And what I've seen happen here is open innovation, people communicating and converging across these sectors, transferring knowledge, tacit knowledge, enabling where those circles combine information to pass freely. And where those circles cross over, there is, of course, a very great deal more opportunity for innovation to take place. For example, life sciences here is, of course, all over that chart. It's into all those sectors. It's no longer a case of being in a particular technology sector. We all enjoy technology as it converges. And I've seen here from a really very local and interestingly local scene when I first came, a change in mindset where there has been a lot more thinking about a world without borders, break down the borders, go abroad, develop internationally, cross the functional borders between disciplines. And that has enabled brain circulation and knowledge sharing. And this open innovation and thinking and action have been extraordinarily important. And in my time here, we've been supported by the development of excellent business schools and investment community, which you will have heard about if you go to another part of the website and listen to Simon Thorpe, who is one of those running Cambridge Angels. And of course, we've seen a really highly effective university technology transfer and commercialization organization, Cambridge Enterprise Developer. That's all happened in certainly the 50 years that I've been here. And in the second half of my tenure here, it's been greatly enhanced, of course, by the wonderful developments of Tim Berners-Lee, the internet, the World Wide Web. And I would say that Cambridge has made the most of the internet revolution because open innovation and open minds and the changing culture have been dramatically enhanced by connectedness, connectivity. I use this word connectricity, connectedness with energy, and joined upness. And people often say to me, well, what are the truly different things that you have observed in your time in Cambridge? And I would say, well, the technology and science have been wonderful, but it has truly been the connectedness of the joined upness and the feeling of common purpose that have really been the big differences that I have seen here. And we would say, and it's not perfect, of course, when we look at what we now have here today, it is a joined up system and society. Those bits, the industry, the universities, the investors are better joined up than they were by far when I came here. And I'm back to my words again of connectedness, connectivity. A joined up innovation ecosystem. And it really is now pretty well joined up, and it's ready for any of you who are not yet here but are thinking of coming to an international place to grow your business. Certainly Cambridge has got the ecosystem that is well prepared to help you do just that. And I see the Cambridge cluster as a very interesting example of bottom-up evolution, where a community of enterprise, social inclusion, and common purpose has been built. And these international mindsets have developed, enabling regional development, international development, and to contribute to the world economy. It's been a very exciting time. And we can look at the bigger issue of convergence and joined upness, as I see it now here in Cambridge, on this little picture here, where in the middle, the universities, the teaching, the research, the investors, all the people that contribute are joined up to a whole series of really, really quite vibrant and growing industry sectors. So I think it's not too strong to say that we have built the basis here of an effective joined up entrepreneurial ecosystem. Not me, a whole load of people have contributed to this. It's been an issue of togetherness. And within it all, science parks have been quite an important part, in fact, a very important part. And this man, Sir John Bradfield, was one of the inspirational leaders who back in 1970, having been to the USA, came back and Trinity College, on his advice, started the first ever science park in Europe. And of course, that has led to the evolution of a whole range of life stage locations. So at whatever stage your company might be, there will be the right kind of place into which it could fit. And as companies grow, they can move to one kind of another kind of location. And the whole thing fits together in a rather nice and comfortable way these days. I can't resist showing you the picture of the Bradfield Center at Trinity Science Park, named after Sir John, the great man. It is a state-of-the-art innovation center. Lots of places for startup entrepreneurs, coaches, and mentors. It was opened in 2017. It was very soon fully occupied. And it is now one of about 25 science parks and innovation centers in Greater Cambridge. And at Trinity, we've seen amazing development. We have a key investment partner from China, Tsinghua University TUS Park, who invested certainly more than 200 million in recent years and established a new bioscience incubator and a lot of other buildings too. Supporting the Cambridge Science Park, Cambridge itself, development and growth, and connecting the Cambridge cluster with emerging technologies and companies, not only in China, but in other parts of the world too. And we have Huawei here, who established their R&D headquarters in Europe. They made an acquisition, they're now building a factory, and other Chinese investors have brought their money and their people here. Tencent, for example, have invested in our games industry. And there's been lots of other inbound investment, not only from China, large amounts from the USA. So we've seen the evolution of a whole number of science parks and innovation centers, Some of them are listed here. And in the little pale blue box on the right, you see something else that has happened over the years. From the development of our own cluster of companies, bigger companies around the world, strong on research, have seen what's been going on here and felt that they would like a share of the action. So we've seen a constant stream of inward investments, and that is represented just by some of the companies in that box. And a lot more is planned for the future. There is the importance to consider, if we're talking about open innovation, the provision of space for people to get to work together, for serendipity and connectedness to work. I'm just showing you a couple of the innovation centers here. This is the Hauser Forum, which has its ideas space, contributed to the economy here by one of our great entrepreneurs, Dr. Hermann Hauser and his family. And another, a rather unusual business center, the Future Business Center, focused primarily on green and clean technology and social enterprises, a very special kind of innovation center for social impact. Those are just two of the centers that have been around. So while I've been here, these are some of the evolutionary things with companies and support structures evolving decade by decade. And I'm not showing all of them here by any means. I just wanted to give you a visual picture of what it's felt like to be here as this whole ecosystem has developed. And as you see, Huawei came as late as 2015, one of our more recent large company inbound investors. And the technology cluster has developed over time, as you see it in the chart there. I made this slide in 2004, by the way. And I would say that the future, which we predicted in the final column, had become reality by about 2014. Not by anything particular I did, but by the sheer force and momentum that had built up over the years. So we've got here a platform ready and awaiting more incoming technology-based world leaders to take advantage of this highly connected innovation ecosystem to plan and implement future growth. It's a great platform for doing that. We have certainly developed the intermingling and connecting capabilities. The Cambridge network enables amazing networking, and there is this spirit abroad of people now feeling part of common purpose and wanting to work together. And there is just a reminder of some of the companies that have been part of the inflow of foreign direct investment that has come into our center here. And in 2021, AstraZeneca completed the opening of their new headquarters and R&D center. That's a picture of it. It's on the biomedical campus here, and the campus is going to become the largest of its kind in Europe very, very quickly. Very fast growing bioscience campus. And there's still plenty of space, by the way, for any of you looking at this website and wondering whether you should come here to Cambridge. I'm not going to talk in great detail about numbers. We have certainly, as I sit and talk today, 20 companies valued at more than US 1 billion. We have one, that's Arm Holdings, valued at something like 60 billion US at the moment. We have a very, very strong investment group within the university itself, and it has invested in quite a few of those 5,000 plus knowledge-intensive firms mentioned on the slide. And in the last year, for which I've got records, we saw inbound investment of something like US 1 billion, which is very, very strong indeed for a center as small as Cambridge. Remember, we only have 130,000 people in Cambridge, probably about 650,000 in the greater Cambridge region, but we are not large in population size. Two real examples of new business creation, so that you have some substance to what I'm saying generally. What I've seen happen and been very privileged to be part of here is the creation of a world-class new family of companies in industrial inkjet printing. I'm naming some of them there. Domino, Willett, Lynx, and others, it has been the emergence, in a way, of a new industry sector. And Cambridge has given exceptional international connections to many of the companies in that sector and many other smaller and mid-sized companies, which has enabled them to scale up rapidly and sustain growing global presence. I can speak from experience here, because one of the companies in that inkjet sector, Willett International, I had the pleasure and privilege to be managing director there for 7 years. And it definitely benefited from the Cambridge brand. And from start to being 15 years old, and it didn't get any equity finance, it grew to 100 million, very fast growth, business in 100 countries, 27 of its own subsidiaries, and lots of distributors and manufacturing around the world. So that's a real example. If you want more detail is available. And then one other example of a very much more recent great success, Cambridge Medical Robotics, CMR. World leadership in a few years, astonishing the speed at which this very complicated company has grown. And as I sit here, it's valued now in excess of 3 billion and actually attracted in 1 year, 650 million pounds of investment. So it's a world leader after a few years establishment, a very, very great achievement. And others can follow the same pathway, in my view, now that we have the infrastructure so well developed for support here. And looking ahead, for some of you who are interested in other business areas, of course, we're always going to be strong in genetics and genomics, thinking back to 1953, Crick and Watson and the double helix. But beyond all of that, those other areas which are mentioned on the slide, I won't read them all out. AI, of course, is very important, machine learning, big data, and robotics I've mentioned. And I would say that the Greater Cambridge area is very strong across the board. It's ready for tomorrow's world indeed. So that's my little story of experience and the time that I've been here, the last 50 years, some of the things I've seen, and they have been very, very dramatic. Of course, there have been challenges as well, but by and large, it's been an extraordinarily positive experience for me. So I'm supporting Cambridge and all that is happening in Cambridge. And like others here, I'm always available if you want more information, if you want to know specifics, if you want connections. The Innovation District here in Cambridge truly is an international location for growth, development, and investment. And if you come visit, you will be very welcome, and we will show you around with great pleasure.